Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by Callum, Alum, and James in the studio. How you going, guys?
Not bad.
Not bad. Good size.
Not bad, good size.
Bonjour, nous sommes reviewés les garçons. I think. Actually, we're not going to.
We all feel a bit classier now.
That's French for welcome to the Tuesday Review.
Actually, it's, hello. We're going to review the boys, but we're actually not going to review the boys. No. That was the original plan, unfortunately.
Someone hasn't seen it.
You reckon you can smash it out in a week?
Yes, I can definitely smash it out in a week. So next week, be prepared.
Oh, it's worth it.
Hold on to your privates because I'm sure there'll be discussion about that.
Spoilers for the first 10 minutes of the first episode.
We shouldn't.
We're not
what do you call it? No, we shouldn't talk about, but also we shouldn't jinx it. Like, we'll talk about it next week, and then next week we're all sick.
So we might be off sick again.
And then Alan's like, "Oh, I didn't watch it," and then So that's in the future.
I'll make it a promise, all right? I'll watch it now.
He's got his laptop in the studio. He's going to start watching it now. Put his headphones in. But in light of that, we're just taking it easy this week. We're going to have a bit of a round table.
Speaking of taking it easy, last week we broke one of our rules where we were so excited because we were away for 2 weeks, and we were just kind of like trying to get through everything, and we're kind of rushing, especially at the end. So we have to be careful.
Yes.
We've taken
habits die hard.
Yeah, we've taken steps to kind of be more relaxed and kind of stretch things out and kind of not rush things all the time. So I think this episode will be a good practice to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk very slowly.
Don't get excited.
Think slowly.
Remember, the world is slowly burning.
Yeah.
Just take it easy.
Not so fast, Homer. Okay. Just stop, Homer. That's what we're going to bring back more of Simpsons quotes.
Well, on that note, I mean, me and Alan, Christian called us out recently, a friend of the show, for constantly quoting The Simpsons.
What?
What's wrong it's something with that? He noticed
our
or something?
Our entire generation, half of our vocabulary is Simpsons quotes.
Yeah. I think one of our frequent ones, me and Alan use quite a lot, is had it up to here with your rules.
You're not going to get it until you tell me your name.
We also discovered there was one quote Alan had not heard of before.
Oh.
Yes.
The Bart Simpson, ow, my ovaries.
Oh, that's a classic.
That one slipped my mind.
Yeah. I use that one all the time.
So, on that note, I've been rewatching it as I have been for a while now. I watch a couple episodes a night. I try to.
Yeah.
And I'm in season 16. It's still going good.
Good effort.
I don't see where the hate comes from. I think it's one of those things where those first few seasons are so good.
Yeah.
That anything sort of doesn't hit that peak.
Yeah, that's true.
People automatically just say
But also,
trash.
you have questionable taste.
No, I don't have questionable taste.
As we've discovered over the course of the show.
But again, I think you go back and you watch season 16, you have a good time. It's just that, but they might not be all-time classics, but should we hold that sort of level of standard for eternity?
Hot take, the Simpsons movie is bad.
Well, is it though? I'm waiting. I've looked up when that takes place in the canon. I'm waiting.
Can you off the top of your head? Do you know what season?
It's after season 18.
Okay,
so it takes place between season 18 and 19.
I remember 18, 19, 20 being unwatchably bad.
Okay,
but this is more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever it was. So, but
come on, man, Spider Pig.
I don't. It's not that funny.
It is funny.
Look,
maybe I'm just a child.
Look, there's always good content to be had in The Simpsons, but it'll never kind of, again, like you said,
the first 10 or so seasons,
oh, he's hideous. I heard they shaved a gorilla. Quality lines.
Milhouse teaching Lisa Italian is that's a good time. I didn't know that his middle name is Mussolini. Now I do.
Oh, this is from the newer season.
And then they go to Italy and Sideshow Bob's the mayor. It was good.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a good time.
I'll take your word for it, but I remember being pretty disappointed for
All right, another classic in season 16, when Homer becomes a celebrant and marries the gay and lesbians.
That sounds like a good episode.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then the very next episode, Selma Goes to China. That's an amazing episode.
They do the Tank Man reference, don't they?
Yeah, there's that episode episode's probably banned overseas in China.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the whole show's banned over there.
Possibly, but it is after this episode. Yeah. But I think people are too hush. Let us know your thoughts if you're listening.
I think it's when you grow up with certain media, and like James said, when the first few seasons of anything are so good, I think it does tend to affect the way you see things when you start to mature a bit more. When you're like, it's not as good as it was when I was a child.
Oh, there's nostalgia, I mean?
but I'm not saying.
But
also,
you watch football in the groin and can't you tell me you don't?
Exactly.
No,
like
I'm not saying
classic
those people,
Simpsons is like god tier, and later Simpsons is like.
I'm not saying that's a wrong opinion.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not just the Simpsons. It's for, like everything we consume in media.
Yeah.
You know, music was better when we were in whatever. You know what I mean?
It's the rose tinted glasses thing.
Yeah.
But I think in the case of the Simpsons, there was a quantifiable.
There was a
dip in quality.
Something was said, not good. Don't yell at Homer. No, that's okay.
I wonder if
He's
it's
slow.
Family Guy. I wonder if the existence of Family Guy may have shook a few.
Yeah, and the
nerves.
Family Guy came out, and I remember specifically, like after a while, Simpsons just
become like
copying Family Guy. Everyone accused Family Guy of copying Simpsons, and then after a while, Simpsons just became Family Guy, and it's just like, this is just sad now. They should cancel it, and that was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, people
and they're
have been
still going, and it's just like what. It's just sad now, honestly. Like they're just.
If they're still making good episodes, I don't see any harm in it.
I don't think they
How
are.
How long did Neighbours go for?
Too long.
Oh yeah, that show
that's-
should have been cancelled after season 1, but episode 1. But that's a soap opera. Like
Yeah,
that's
and that's
meant to be dragged out
Kept
for
alive by
infinity.
housewives and British grandmas.
Like
Yeah.
like Simpsons should have ended after 12ish, 13ish.
That's the real reason the Queen
seasons.
died. The neighbor, she's like, neighbors are gone. That's it.
She has nothing left to live
Nothing
for.
left to live for.
Yeah,
Rest in peace, Lizzie.
friend of the show. That's it.
But people could transition to American Dad, which I think
American Dad was really good for a while. I don't know if it's kept up quality, but it was really, really good for a while.
What about the Cleveland show? I never really watched it. Was
I
that
watched
any
a
good?
bit. It was okay.
It was okay. Yeah, like I felt it. Everyone was
It had a limited cast.
yeah,
Yeah,
and most of the people were kind of gimmicky.
the
There's like
energy
a
behind
bear.
it-
There's a bear man. and it's
Yeah.
like,
the
oh, this
energy
is-
behind it just wasn't there compared to the
What,
other shows.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the state of adult comedy isn't in a great place right now. We have Rick and Morty, but
There's
that's
a lot of stuff on Netflix.
But I feel like it's all leaning to a very
There's a-
specific.
Rick and Morty kind of set a new precedent.
It's all
Like if every cartoon was copying The Simpsons for a while, I feel like a lot of cartoons now are copying Rick and Morty.
I feel like they all lean towards a very specific niche of like
Meta.
not meta, but like the humor is not like vulgar is the wrong word to use, but it's
Yeah.
very edgy and like it's not necessarily. I would say the Simpsons is a show for everybody, right? It definitely has adult humor and kids can appreciate it.
But you know what it is? I feel like a lot of people conflate sarcasm with intelligence, and so Rick and Morty does have some wit, but it also has sarcasm behind it. And what's his name?
Dan Harmon.
He's such a great writer that he knows how to wield that.
Yeah.
So it comes off as effective. But when other shows try to do it, they lack the intelligence of The Simpsons, but they also lack the wit behind Rick and Morty. So you just get this kind of sarcastic-y, trying to sound smart.
Do you guys watch
cartoons.
Archer?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was gonna mention
Like
Archer.
that's a great show, but that's another one where they're dragging it out now,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of
Yeah.
concerned. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to keep watching this, but that's a show where it's like kind of the sarcastic kind of adult humor.
But that's
And the
legitimately
more-
funny.
But the more they drag it out, it feels like almost like what Callum's saying. It's like, oh, they're not really smart enough to do this
I feel
anymore.
like that's why-
even though the later seasons I still enjoy.
It's not animation, but that's why Always Sunny works. Because it's like when they release a season, it might only be like 6 episodes.
Yeah,
But they only release as much as is good.
yeah,
Like it's not dragging it out.
not-
It's
yeah.
they might go a few years without making a season.
yeah.
But I feel like we've lost that type of animation show that's for everybody. I feel like these days there's definitely like
It's a different market now
Yeah,
because
there's adult cartoons and there's kids cartoons.
and there's nothing in between.
Yeah, I mean, I remember back when we were in just after high school, people used to say things like Adventure Time is kind of for adults, but then you watch it and there's a couple funny jokes that land, but then it's mostly for kids and it's aimed at kids. There's not a whole lot of bleed between the two markets anymore.
I'm sure there's a lot of shows that we're just not aware of.
Oh, something like Gravity Falls.
Yeah, that's
that
a
one,
great show.
You can definitely enjoy as an adult.
Yeah.
But it's one of the few and far betweens. But at the same time, I
Like
think
they tried to bring back King of the Hill, but I don't think they did.
Was Gravity
They're
Falls
doing
the
it
one?
soon, I think.
Yeah.
Was Gravity Falls the one where the creator shared his emails between him and Disney?
Yeah, Dan Hirsch.
Yeah, that was a great Twitter thread where
Yeah.
he discusses all of
the
they're like,
censorship,
make this less crude or whatever, and he's like, no.
Yeah, he does not, like, Dan Hirsch is awesome. He does not give a shit. Like, he'll, when there was like a Pride Month and Disney changed all their banners and social media to the rainbow flag, Dan Hirsch was like, this is the same company who said, like,
your show is too gay, darling.
Yeah, I couldn't have two same-sex like characters. It's like he does not give a shit. He's awesome. Gravity Falls is amazing. Actually, he's co-produced or co-created a show called Inside Job on Netflix, animated show. It's kind of got that Rick and Morty adult humor vibe. It's pretty good, pretty funny.
Yeah, but like I feel that that's the other thing. Like the shows are always a bit too far out. The Simpsons is very much like it's a character show.
Yeah,
like
it's a sitcom.
Yeah, like I miss that.
But at the same time, I think giving the adults their own push of cartoon allows more for stuff like Invincible to be made.
Oh yeah,
where you got the
that's a whole step up again. That's like a whole other.
If you're trying to always keep it open for the kids, like
it's not necessarily about that. It's just keeping it more grounded.
Like, so you're saying you want more King of the Hill, more Simpsons style, Family Guy style. It's a sitcom, but it's animated.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, basically, not necessarily Family Guy, because I have issues with Family Guy and how they kind of ruined the whole.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like that kind of. Every episode is like the family goes through a thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a missing market.
But don't you think it's been done?
No, not. Why? Why does it have to stop?
Because it's been done to death.
Yeah. So this is an interesting philosophical question. Because
it's the same with live action sitcoms. It's like we've seen them all. We've seen Roseanne. We've seen Cosby. We've
seen no good ones coming out now.
We've seen Seinfeld. We've seen Friends a billion times.
Here's how people should be looking at this, right? It's consumable media. So yeah, it's been done before, but as long as new content's being made that people are enjoying, I feel like there's always going to be room for new sitcoms. Doesn't matter if we're retreading old ground, because I'll be honest, I can watch dumb stuff all day, and I'm still going to enjoy it. It doesn't matter if it's the Simpsons or if it's a sitcom.
It comes in waves. It's like there was the family sitcom, then there was the workplace sitcom, then there was the office kind of mockumentary sitcom, and now there's like meta sitcoms that are coming out, and like so it's evolving. It's always evolving.
Hulu's got one new where it's based on the reboot phenomenon.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you know they use the same set from The Last Man Standing in that show?
That's funny.
The house in that sort of reboot sitcom show is the same house.
I don't know if that was just if that was intentional, if it was just they had a set already built.
I think it's on the nose, but it was already built. It was just easy access.
Yeah.
But but to make my point more concise, I think that for us to sit in this room and say when should it stop is kind of missing the point, because I'll be honest,
it's all in the execution.
We all have a bit of an ego here. Let's be honest, we're on radio. Our opinion.
We're egos. We know.
You know what I mean? We're projecting our opinions out into the universe.
Yeah, I've stated before, like, we are right in our opinions, and no one else can.
Yeah. But my point is, like, there's some kid at home right now watching a dumb cartoon that should have been cancelled years ago, having the time of his life, and watching an episode which most of us would think is garbage.
We've talked about it before.
I was saying that kid would have a better time just watching reruns of Seinfeld. Because,
he wouldn't understand. You've got to give him a few years first.
Seinfeld's different. I wouldn't have appreciated Seinfeld as a child.
I watched Seinfeld as a kid.
Yeah, I did too. I appreciate a lot more than as an adult.
That's the beauty of it. Like, I enjoyed it as a kid. And now, as an adult, I get like genius. Hey, I missed that. Yeah, like
I was much too dumb of a child. So
I did enjoy it as a child. As an adult, it's amazing.
Yeah. As a sophisticated child, I enjoyed Frasier. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I watched that as a kid.
I'm only joking. No, I didn't.
Oh, really?
I feel like
I love Frasier.
I like Frasier too, but again, over the head.
Not as a kid.
I feel like I need to go back to Frasier and rewatch it. As an adult, I might get more of the jokes.
Mate, but like
it's a sass overload, but it's good.
Yeah, it's lots of sass.
It's all right. It's nothing worse than stuck at silent producer Christian's house being forced to watch The Golden Girls.
Oh, yeah.
No, that happened, all right?
That happened, and his brother was like, why are you watching The Golden Girls?
And Christian's like, because it's funny. I'm like, yes, some of the jokes are funny, but also, can you end this pain, please?
Yeah, that's it.
I say that, but MASH is good.
I love MASH.
Sitcoms are good. MASH is a good time.
Yeah.
So I've been watching that. I've been thinking about the animated sitcoms that I don't have anymore.
Maybe you got to search a bit harder. Like there's so much stuff out there. Although there was until they started removing it from all the platforms.
Speaking of Final Space, what is it called?
Final Space, yeah.
Tax write-offs, man.
Yeah,
gotta have it.
Capitalism. It's like antithetical to art.
Yeah, but like it's one thing to cancel a show, it's another thing to remove it from a platform entirely so that no one can watch it
and get it
to get a tax write-off and maybe
cynical.
So you can sell it to another service in another country or something.
Yeah, but
like, it's just ugly and I hate it and it's depressing.
But that's the thing. If it's for a tax write-off, will they sell it at all?
No. Probably not.
Like it just goes into the vault.
Yeah, but it's like, how can that even be legal that you're just like, we made this show and
they own it.
We can't show it anymore, so give us money, government.
Yeah.
What?
That's
how is that
capitalism? It's that
Hollywood accounting.
The lobbies inform the creation of law. That's what it is. But it's like what you said, the perfect word for it. It's all just very ugly.
It's depressing. Like every time I hear about this, I'm like, we pay all this money to get all these services to watch the things that we love, like movies and shows. Is literally my life. It's why we started this show. And it's just depressing now. It's like every time I turn on the TV, it's like this is...
So like HBO, is that a publicly traded company?
I would imagine so.
Like you'd
Warner, it would be Time Warner.
You'd think that the shareholders would see the negative press because HBO's reputation is in tatters now.
But like,
you'd think that they'd be like...
It's like the Tesla thing where it's just like, how can you have so much bad press and yet...
Oh, he makes some money. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the same case here.
But like HBO Max is their reputation's so damaged.
Like they're penny pinching, so the share price goes up 1 cent, and then it's like, oh, but the reputation's ruined.
The difference is that Elon Musk is he's his own brand, so he represents Elon Musk as well as Tesla.
Yeah.
So when he does bad press, it doesn't necessarily have a negative impact on Tesla's brand itself. Because there's like a distinction.
I went from thinking a Tesla would be something I would in the future maybe get, and now I'm like, I don't want anything.
No, but my point is that when Elon Musk does something bad, it's not necessarily going to have an impact on Tesla. But when the CEO of HBO, in this instance, when he makes bad decisions, it's going to have a negative impact on HBO Max's reputation.
When he comes out and says that the studio known for The Sopranos, The Wire, some of the best scripted content in all of mankind, he comes out and says, nah, man, reality's where it's at. We need to get rid of these scripted shows.
He's so into like his identity is the CEO of HBO and the flagship streaming service HBO Max and all that. It's so connected that when he makes a bad decision, it's going to tank HBO Max, which will affect...
I think what Callum's trying to say is the difference is with Elon Musk, he might say some weird things, but the product is still okay.
Yeah, that's my point. It's like, Tesla has some concerns, but those concerns would exist with or without Elon Musk at the helm. Because he's... No. Well, no, I'm talking about, I'm not talking about Elon Musk. I'm talking about the cars themselves.
Yeah.
Their engineering faults, they would happen regardless of whether Elon Musk is around, because he's in the office sending emails and doing businessy things.
Tweeting,
Not the engineering side of things.
Yeah.
Whereas the guy in charge of HBO Max, or HBO,
he's
whatever you want to
cutting
call it,
swathes out of the
He's
platform.
personally interfering in the business to damage, and he's consequentially damaging the business.
I don't know if that's a great comparison. I think we're talking.
Well, no, you talked about you mentioned Elon Musk.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is like I don't know how accurate that last 10 minutes of conversation was, but either way, it's not a good look.
Anyway, my point was,
I don't care if they're making record stock prices. I don't.
But that's
care.
the thing. They were tanking until the rehearsal season 2 was announced. That's my point. Is like
whether you made this joke already, where they're just like, is this scripted or not? And just just like, yes.
The tax write-offs that he's damaging, specifically animation. We should point that out.
That's sad.
Like he's taking an axe to HBO's animation. Those cuts for tax write-offs were actually having a negative impact on the entire company. So my point was, like, at what point do shareholders say maybe we need to change the way we're doing business?
We should also mention that it's not just HBO. Like all streaming
Netflix
services
is
are doing
notorious
this.
for this.
Netflix is doing it, and it's like I said, it's just depressing now. It's
but at least Netflix is slightly different.
Yeah, at least
all the shows they're getting removed are shows that they haven't made entirely themselves.
But it's the same thing, right? It's like I pay for a service with content. Now they're removing that content, so I'm losing bang for my buck. now that content either it disappears completely or ends up on another service that I now have to pay for to access. It's just like, what am I paying all this money for?
Yeah.
For what?
To Netflix's defense,
It's never ending.
In Netflix's defense, the last, like, I think it was like 5 or 7 years, they haven't had any of these issues. All the programs that are getting removed from Netflix, either is the Marvel stuff is a different issue.
Early on they were doing partnership.
But early on, they're the only programs on Netflix that are affected.
There's contractual issues.
Yeah.
But even like we were talking about with The Sandman, where it's like a Warner Brothers co-production, and then if it gets cancelled, they can go somewhere else. It's like, why is this still happening?
Yeah.
I know there's lots of funding agreements, and they have to get the money from somewhere, and there's partnerships and yada yada, and the rights issues because Warner owns DC, who owns The Sandman. It's just like, but like, it's just tiring, and it's not good for art, and it's not good for
my gut feeling, and I'm not a specialist, obviously, but it just feels like it's a part of the zeitgeist. It's like one company does it, so another company does it, so another company does it.
It's depressing, and I'm at a point now
since everyone's doing it. Like, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Let's just say you're a cynical businessman who's running a streaming service.
Yeah.
And you see every other company's making cuts for whatever reason to save money, tax credits, what have you. You're going to be like, well, they're doing it. I'm going to get in on that too because it raises our short-term gain, short-term profits, makes the shareholders a bit of cash.
I understand why they're doing it because they're just a bunch of, Hollywood executives coked out and want to make the most money they can and then get out. But it's just like, from our perspective here, it's depressing and I hate it.
It's slaughtering
And I'm
at
a point now where I'm like, maybe I should just cancel all my streaming services and go full back into the sail the seven seas.
Well, that's the interesting thing you brought up. Because some of these people on Twitter who actually created the programs that are getting cut are actually literally telling people online that if in certain cases, if you want to watch my TV show, you have to literally pirate it.
Yeah.
Because there's no legal way to access it anymore.
Under which case is it really illegal?
No.
Well, that's the thing.
At this point,
it technically is illegal, but morally speaking, if you were taken to court for it, it's an interesting question. Because if you were to be asked by the judge or whatever, why didn't you purchase this online? You can say, it is currently not accessible to any human being who doesn't work for HBO.
We've talked about it before, where it's just like, they make it either impossible to access, or if it is accessible, it's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And so you basically have
the old anime problem.
Yeah, you have no other choice.
Outside of Crunchyroll and stuff like that. If you want to buy an anime movie, you're spending like $70.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Or even like with the weird seasons where it's like, you get
Part
8
one,
episodes. Season 1, volume 1. It's like $80 for 8 30-minute episodes. I'm like, thanks.
Jeez. No, but it's just... And people are saying like it's not piracy anymore. It's like archiving and preservation.
Yeah, no.
Archive.org.
Yeah. It's just like...
It's the same with video games. We were talking before the show about downloading games, and there are so many games out there that were produced by companies that no longer exist.
Yeah.
And of course Sony don't encourage reproductions of any kind. So the only way to acquire certain games is to download them.
I'm sure we've talked about it before, but video game preservation is almost more important than film and TV preservation, because at least with film and TV, once you got the DVD, once you got the Blu-ray, once you got a copy of it, you're set.
Yeah.
But video games, it's like, if you can get a copy of it, if it's super rare, or if it's if it's not even on a system that is around anymore, then you have to get the correct system, or you have to figure out how to get it running on a computer or whatever.
Like, imagine having a game made for the Ouya.
Yeah.
I'm not defending Embracer Group, one of the companies eating all the other game companies up. They own like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex and all these other different games.
We talked about them.
They have a video game museum. They archive a lot of video games as much as they can. It's a good thing.
We talked about we're like, it looks like they're doing a good thing, but I think at the end of the day,
they're still
just
a large
company.
But the fact they do have like a video game archive.
Hideo Kojima once said that he was hoping that his games would be treated like movies, where like every time a new generation of consoles comes out, they'd be successfully ported so people can continue enjoying them. But he has a director's mind, like we've talked about before. He has this idea of art.
Yeah, he should be a filmmaker. Honestly, like that's what he wants to be, I think, and he's trying to be with his new company. They're gonna start trying to do TV and movies. But yeah, I think like when people get angry that they make video, like I hate movie remakes. Most of them are shit and shouldn't exist. But video game remakes, I don't mind because I'm like, well, a lot of these games you can't play otherwise.
Yeah.
Or if you can, it's extremely difficult and expensive.
Laughs in The Last of Us.
Oh, don't.
Then there's stuff like that where it's like, okay, now they're just...
yeah, they're releasing it 4
milking
times.
that cow.
And
GTA
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
We're all complicit in Grand Theft Auto
yeah.
5, though.
Hey,
But
I have
even
not
then-
bought it on Xbox Series X.
That's
or
the Skyrim
PS5
problem,
yet.
right?
But even
Yet.
but even then, at least in that case, you can argue, well, they're keeping it relevant for
Again, that
every
is- again, that's
continuing console. Whereas usually it would come out.
I mean, I guess
and-
the difference is that like they're not even shy. Rockstar's not even shy. They're just like, look, here's some upgrades. It's the same game. But you've got companies like the Naughty Dog releasing The Last of Us like 3 or 4
Yeah.
times, being like, it's a completely different game. I'm like, sir, it's really not.
Yeah, it's a cash.
Stop.
grab.
And also, Grand Theft Auto 5 is pretty cheap now.
Yeah.
They're charging you like $100
It's
for a
not-
new Last
yeah.
of Us. I'm like, excuse me, what?
Yeah, because it's a complete
Yeah.
remaster. Yeah.
Remake, yeah.
Even though apparently it doesn't really even look that much better than the
the
previous
screenshot-
remaster.
I saw the screenshots. I'm like, the
Yeah.
PS4 remaster
There are
was
some-
fine.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
unnecessary.
There are some environments that have better lighting than
Yeah,
in,
and they
in
changed
the
the way they-
remaster than in the
They
remake.
changed the way some of the characters look, and I'm like, I don't like that.
I hate that. Do you remember when they did that to Peter Parker in
I
Spider-Man?
hated that,
And he looked
that.
ugly.
I was livid. Like they obviously did it to make the guy look more like Tom Holland, and it made me so angry. I'm like, the guy looked perfect in
Yeah.
the normal
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
Then you update it. You leave everyone else normal, and you change Peter Parker, and then pretend
Yeah.
like, oh, we did it so the facial animation is better for the
Yeah.
actor. Bullshit. You did it to
Yeah,
try
I
to
know.
cash in
Yeah.
with the
They,
MCU movies.
For the because they released it on PC, which is hilarious. So a quick aside. I'm sorry
yes,
for this.
the mods.
I'm sorry for this quick tangent. But there's a hilarious thing going on where publishers have the PC. Certain other publishers, other than Sony, I should say, have PC rights to certain Sony first-party titles, or second-party titles technically. But anyway, so you start getting Spider-Man coming out on PC, Death Stranding coming out on PC Games Pass, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, Sony has started their own PC publishing wing because they were so embarrassed
Yeah.
to see Death Stranding with like Xbox logos everywhere.
Sony
But anyway,
has become kind of a joke.
yeah,
A
we'll,
little
we'll
bit,
get to
that's
that maybe
different.
later on in the show. But there was this whole thing where someone modded Spider-Man to put the old face on the
Yeah.
on the remaster.
Damn straight.
But there's also someone modded Wolverine in the Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
They also
There's
make
all kinds
saw-
of different mods.
I
all
saw
kinds of
someone,
different mods.
you can play as Aunt May.
Yeah.
So you're like whipping around as this old lady.
PC
Yeah.
game. Anyway, we've rattled on enough. What have you been watching, Alan, or playing, or doing anything interesting?
I don't know. I think I've just been.
Because everyone's been sick except for me, thank you very much. We've haven't been doing any Saturday episodes, and we kept saying, "Oh, we have to talk about Better Call Saul. We have to talk about Better Call Saul," and we never did. So I guess we could talk about that.
Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Individuals haven't
Sure,
watched
No,
it.
go
Well,
for
okay.
they're not gonna.
Go
Yeah,
for
they're not
it.
gonna binge all 6 seasons
Nah, go for it.
in the next week. So we won't spoil it. We'll just give our.
Yeah,
can do-
we'll try and
You can
keep
do
it.
light spoilers. That's fine.
We'll try and keep it.
Because by the
kosher.
time I rewatch Breaking Bad, and then you get through
No,
all
we'll
6
just
seasons.
give our thoughts on it because it's something we wanted to.
I thought like that was I guess it was the biggest worry in my mind of how are they going to end it? Are they going to end it in a justifiable way?
Yeah.
And for I guess context, the ending of Better Call Saul ends up happening post all the scenes in
The
Breaking
show's a
Bad.
prequel, except for there are flash forward scenes,
Yeah.
and the show ends in one of these flash forwards
Flash forward
after
scenes.
after Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
So it's a prequel and a sequel, technically.
yeah. Like I'd say it had been. How long would you say it ends up being? It's at least a couple of years, right?
Oh, at the timeline.
Yeah. Like
Oh.
after Better Call Saul, because Gene's obviously been working for a while.
Better Call Saul takes place in 2000. It takes place. Oh, it's
But
hard to-
where was the
'Cause-
end point? Because he's been working at the Cinnabon.
It flashes forward though.
Yeah.
Because the first couple of seasons, 2003, 2004, which is 4 years before Breaking
Mm-hmm.
Bad. But then it flashes forward to 2008 where Breaking Bad starts. And that flashes forward to after Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So it's mostly early 2000s.
Yeah, mostly
And then
it's-
there are scenes that are further on.
Especially, I guess, the final seas's more about
Yeah, and then
kind of where
later.
things end up. And like I was concerned. I'm like, how are they going to do a bad job? I am overall content with where it went.
I think it was a great ending. I think the show overall is probably better than Breaking Bad.
Yes,
as much as I love Breaking Bad.
Some people can come fight us if you want.
Yeah.
No, as someone who's only seen Breaking Bad, everything I hear about Better Call Saul says that it's another level.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's excellent. And I think the ending of Better Call Saul is better than the ending of Breaking Bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Breaking Bad ended, and I was like, okay, that's a perfectly fine ending.
Yeah.
So like Better Call Saul ended, I'm like, that was perfect. Mwah.
Yeah. Like you don't feel kind of raw about people getting, people did still get, bad end of the stick.
Yeah.
In many situations. But you feel like everyone kind of roughly got what they probably should have gotten.
Yeah.
Because no one in that show, I think, the basic part was no one in that show was innocent.
No.
And everyone deserved at least some level of karmic punishment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that was definitely nice to see. One thing that kind of got me was obviously the situation with one of the characters, Ignacio Varga, or Nacho.
Yeah.
He was one of those characters who was a bad guy, but he wasn't really a bad guy. Like, he still had a good heart, and he knew the things he was doing was wrong. And he had his father who was always trying to tell him to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that was, definitely a heartbreaking scene when, Mike ends up talking to his father. And just, like, Mike's trying to, be helpful, but the father's like,
you're one of those people.
You're one of those people. It's like, I don't want your help.
Yeah. And that's funny too, because Mike thinks he's one of the good guys, and he talks to the guy, talks to a normal guy, and he's like, no, you're part of the gangsters world.
Like, yes, you've got your granddaughter who you're looking after, and your daughter-in-law, but the way you're going about it is definitely illegal.
Yeah.
There's still drugs
You're hurting
involved.
people.
People are getting killed.
Yeah.
You've killed people. Like, it's a really well told story.
It's such a well written show.
Yeah. Like, it works as a prequel and doesn't like ruin things or try and jam things in there just for you to.
Yeah, most prequels I'm like, this is garbage. This is like member berry bullshit. But Better Call Saul is one of them where I'm like, oh, this is so good.
How many trade negotiations were in there though?
There's a lot of negotiations. I don't know about trade negotiations.
Okay.
Legal negotiations, I guess.
And again, the lawyering scenes that are brought in.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
Obviously, it's not supposed to be competitor suits, where they do their own business lawyering and all that kind of jazz. This was criminal law.
Yeah.
And the comedy and overall, I wouldn't call it. It wasn't supposed to be, point for point exactly correct to how, an actual legal case, court case would take place. But it brought in,
it felt accurate though.
Because I think there was Legal Eagle. He actually watched a couple of the episodes.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, some of these things obviously wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, he's like, they've done their homework.
Watching the show, like, because it always feels well researched and it's so well written that everything felt kind of real. When they bring up something in court and it's like, hang on, that wouldn't. It's like, but it felt.
Yeah. Like, you didn't have, like, somebody break into the doors. It's like, objection. It's like, who are you? You're not allowed to object. It was none of that crap. It was more just shenanigans. Like, you recognize this guy as the guy that broke in? Well, he's not actually that guy. Yeah. That guy's sitting back there.
Yeah.
Aha.
He's actually a really good lawyer. It turns out.
No, that's good.
It's such a great show.
Yeah, like, again, I would say you're welcome to actually just put Breaking Bad aside if you're kind of rewatching it.
I think you should watch.
I think you should watch it, but if it's holding you back from watching Better Call Saul, I feel like as long as you've watched it once, you should be able to hop into Better Call Saul. But that being said, my memory is a little different to the average Joe's.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Alum is the mastermind here.
Yeah. Oh, not the mastermind.
He has the
different. But yeah, like for me, I was able to remember most of the key points anyway. But I feel it really shouldn't hinder somebody if they're having trouble getting through it from watching Better Call Saul, because that is a show that people need to watch.
Definitely,
it's just a show that like go out there, get on it, buy a stand if you have to, or unfurl your sail, and weather the storm.
What do we think? So far, we know next to nothing. But what do we think he's going to be doing next? It's
Vince Gilligan.
A high budget show for Apple TV.
Yeah,
apparently.
so like Vince Gilligan is one of those creators where I'm like,
you're down
anything
day one,
he does, I'm there day one.
Well, it's been his new show's been referred to as what was it? Bending reality and exploring the human condition.
Oh,
that's how it's being described.
Because like I love Breaking Bad, I love Better Call Saul. I even like El Camino. Like, that world was great, but I'm happy it's done.
Yeah.
And now I want to see what Vince Gilligan does outside of
Fresh
that.
canvas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited.
Was that
for
a 2-season
whatever
order
that'll
from Apple or something like that?
Yeah.
A high budget.
And
Now
it's
that's got me
got
excited.
and it's got Reyes Ihorn in it, who played Kim in Better Call Saul.
Oh man, she's
good.
Apparently,
Kim was my favorite character.
apparently she's the lead. She's just gonna be like a straight hero in this one. It's gonna be like very not as grey. Like Breaking Bad's there's a lot of shades of grey.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he's like he doesn't want to do that for his next show. She's gonna be a straight good character, like a hero. It's not gonna be so much shades of grey morality tale as it's like a hero on a mission kind of thing. That's exciting.
Whatever it is, I'm there.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Look, we might go on a very quick break and we'll be back right after this. You are back on the Tuesday review. We were discussing Vince Gilligan's next project, which looks very exciting, even though we know nothing about it, except
It sounds
some
very exciting. Yeah.
keywords.
Look, I feel again, even though we know nothing about it, we can be excited because he's earned that
Yeah,
kind of level
exactly.
of respect.
As long as he doesn't purchase his own island.
Ah,
What?
God, Gilligan's Island.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
All right, Cal's
Gilligan-
mic's going off.
Yeah, if Vince Gilligan wants to reboot that show, I'll be down for it.
It's a reality show.
So during the break, Alan was saying he'd been watching something else as well.
Yes, so I've made a start on House of the Dragon, just because, well, somebody's paying for the binge subscription, so you
might as well use it.
You know, if I'm not going to be watching
Lord of the Rings.
Westworld, or
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings,
I'm waiting for that to
That's on
finish.
Amazon though.
Yeah, I'll watch that at some point.
Yeah,
I have thoughts. I'll leave that for another time.
for the special. But like I think I've only seen the first episode of the House of the Dragon, and it seems to be borrowing a lot from even the intro. They were just using the Game of Thrones music. I'm pretty sure.
Game of Thrones prequel.
Yeah, why not capitalize on that?
I just feel like put some effort in. The CGI is definitely not up to par. They got more dragons in there now,
Yeah.
and the CGI is like, and I'm like, it was always, but
They're in cost-cutting mode.
The dragons looked alright in the Game of Thrones last couple of seasons.
they did.
Last few seasons.
But then there was a whole episode where everything was black, and I was like,
oh yeah, that was garbage.
big battle.
I'm not defending
Can't see
that.
anything.
But like the dragons looked okay.
Yeah, but these ones look crap. There's there's a promise of a story, but I believe it's supposed to be based on just a single book.
I think it's based on like the
Is it even a
prequel.
book?
Yeah.
It's like not even. It's like a line, like a few lines. Or
It's just.
in
I
it.
thought there was
it's
a book.
no man. It's just expanded. I've read all the books that have released.
Yeah, it's like
it's-
it's the
but-
backstory, the history of.
I thought it was a prequel book. I don't know.
I'll
it's a
look it
full
up.
book.
He
Yeah.
did release another book,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's to do with the Targaryens
Yeah.
or whatever.
You
it's
can't
about.
release his actual main story books,
Yeah.
but he released other crap and then just gone to work on shows.
Yeah.
And
Say he's working on it and then not work on
Yeah.
it and then
So-
complain when people complain. That
He's
not
just
working on
upset
it.
because he only allows himself to use some really old PC.
Yeah, see, that's the problem.
Look,
he uses DOS. That's
I
it.
can't blame him. That show.
No,
was
no,
serious.
It's
Yeah,
serious.
It's true.
No, seriously.
Oh
he
my-
uses some real outdated
It's-
DOS program. He probably deleted all his work by accident one day, and he's like, "I can't do it."
You can't blame him. Like there was like the biggest show in the world. It ended. It became one of the worst shows in the world. It ended in such an awful way.
Yeah.
And it's like he's still got 2 books to go, and he's got so many storylines and characters to tie
Look,
up.
He has too much pride.
He can't live up to anyone's expectation. But I think all he has to do is not be as bad as the show,
Yeah.
and he'll be fine.
And just give
But-
your notes to Brandon Sanderson and get it over
Yeah,
with.
Well,
Rip
that's
it
what
off
I was
like a
gonna say.
Band-Aid.
That's the thing. Is
Eat
it's like
some
if he
pride and have a
can't-
ghostwriter with
Yeah,
you.
if he can't put the effort into tying everything up because it's gotten out of his hands and he's like overwhelmed by it. Yeah, just let someone
I'm
else.
pretty sure
do it.
he's gone on record to say he doesn't even want it like posthumously
Yeah,
completed.
he said if he dies, he wants
As if.
it destroyed or whatever.
Yeah, I'm like good luck with that. Yeah, you old man, get you.
I'm literally because I want to read the books, but I'm waiting for him to die, and then I'm gonna wait 5 years and see if they release anything like posthumously, and then if they don't, then I'll start reading, even though it's unfinished. At least I know it'll be unfinished forever.
Yeah,
See,
we'll make
than-
our own. We'll
Nah.
make our own ending.
Look, to me, that's disgusting. If he died and never wrote another book, and it was like this open-ended story,
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to read it because I'm like, what's the point when you have this
Yeah.
living, breathing world and you get to a certain
And you
point,
don't have a- yeah.
and then there's like a hard stop.
Well,
I couldn't do it.
It's like the show. It's like I'd have no desire, even was such a great show for so many years. Yeah, but it was such a great show for so many years. But I was just like, I have no desire to rewatch it because what do? I get up to season 4 and I stop. I get up to season 6 and I stop. Yeah. Like, what's the point anymore? Exactly. I can't recommend anyone watch it. It's one of the reasons I haven't started watching House of Dragon. They any goodwill they had is gone.
Oh, that's one.
The book is basically unrelated entirely to the new show. Okay. So it's like it's a show is just expanded.
They're taking the backstory.
There's a little bit of backstory included in the books. It's more than a line. It might be like, you know, a chapter here and there exploring just like the family legacy, the family kind of backstory. But it's no real.
It's not a full. But book,
no, it's not a full volume. It's nothing really. It doesn't need to be
it's just fan fiction,
but it's
to an extent.
I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but I'll mention it because it's very relevant. Rings of Power is based on like the appendices of Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So it's basically dot points of what happened in the history of Middle Earth over thousands of years. And it's like, in one way, it's like, oh, well, that gives you the freedom to make this whole storyline based on the history of Middle Earth. But in what they're doing is just they're just hitting the dot points of like, this is all the stuff that happened in Middle Earth history over thousands of years, and we're crushing it down into one season of a show. And it's kind of like, well, it just feels like a prequel. And that's one of the many reasons I haven't started House of Dragon, even though I've heard it's good, and one day I might start it. I'm like, you're just taking the history and then the dot points of the history and trying to flesh it out. But we all know where it ends up, and it ends up horribly.
Yeah. I'm kind of soured on the whole thing. Yeah. Like, I never even finished. I saw people's reactions to the final seasons. Yeah. And I didn't even watch them. Our dad watched it, and he was like, it was fine. But I'm like, apparently it's not.
It was garbage.
And, like, again, Martin's response to writing the books, again, has kind of soured me on it. Yeah. You know, the man has no... I'm not going to say he has no passion for it, but he clearly doesn't have the enthusiasm to actually... Because how many years has it been since the final book was announced?
The issue is he's an old man at this point.
Yeah, I know, but so is Stephen King.
But not everyone is God.
Yeah, because again, quick aside, Stephen King's latest book has been released, and I found out about it like 6 months ago when it was like announced. He wrote a horror fantasy novel. Yeah. And it's like his best in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, everyone loves it.
Yeah, but no, what I mean...
my point is that you got people like Stephen King... Like, you know, granted, Stephen King's a one in a...
He's a machine. He just churns them out.
He's like a 1 in every 100 years genius. So I'm not going to compare him to George R. Martin. Yeah. But here, Martin has no enthusiasm for it anymore. Because I think, like you said, the pressure of it all probably squeezed out of him.
It's hard to blame him.
But then that makes people like me, like, well, he doesn't care about it. HBO don't really care about it because to them it's just a money tree. Yeah. So I'm like, well, Game of Thrones is done for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Star Wars for you.
Yeah, well, that's actually a good point because there are a lot of these fantasy shows like Wheel of Time, which you didn't even finish, and I don't really care about.
That's like
The Witcher. The Witcher season 2 I didn't like, and I was like, well, do I really want to continue this? Rings of Power I'm not enjoying. House of Dragon I'm not even going to start. So I'm like, there's all these big budget fantasy shows out there. It's like, oh, nerd's wet dream, and it's finally materialized, and it's like, oh, this stuff sucks.
Monkey Claw, man.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think I want to engage in this stuff anymore. Yeah. Which maybe we'll talk about on another episode. It's like, how much of this stuff...
cynicism in art. Yeah,
especially with like all that streaming problems that we were just talking about. It's just like, I don't care anymore. All this is garbage, and half of it gets cancelled. The other half doesn't finish or finishes poorly.
Or what's left gets their budget cut anyway.
Yeah, it's just like, why do I even bother?
100%. But it's, I think the problem with George R. R. Martin is, you know, being an older man, maybe he's not as confident in his writing. Maybe he's lost some of his gift.
I don't blame him, to be honest.
No, definitely.
And then it's like he's in a point where it's like, well, he has to release his book. He's been given money by the publishers. He's got
That's actually a good point. Did he pay it back? He probably just paid the advance back, surely.
Probably. He gets so much money from other projects.
Yeah, HBO he's got that HBO money. He probably paid his advance back and was like, it's done when it's done. Don't bother me.
And so, like, what do you do? To be clear, I'm not saying that he's lost any faculty or gift or ability due to age. But it happens.
He doesn't have a young man's... Like, if I was in his situation, I'd feel the same. Because, like, when you get to a point where the clock's ticking and you know that you have this big, epic finale to work on... Yeah. Like, I'm at the nerves. You know what I mean? Like, I can imagine his mental space would be... I don't know if I can... Number one, I don't know how much time I've got left. number 2, I don't know if my hardware can take it. Number 3, like,
and
is it
everyone in the world is watching.
Yeah, exactly. The pressure to perform, the fallout from a crap novel would not end. I mean, his career is already like, he's already golden, but it would end his reputation.
But if that's the case, then he shouldn't care about somebody carrying on the work after he passes.
Yeah.
But he does. And that's what makes me think it's like an ultimate troll. It's like, I've given you this real good story, everyone's invested. They've made me millions and millions of dollars. Tens of millions of dollars at this point, probably.
I'm going to hold out on you.
I'm going to hold out on you. And then croak. Yeah. And that'll teach you, I'll burn the book. I'll burn my DOS computer and
it's
stuff.
It's also like a George Lucas-y thing where it's just like, no, it's mine. I don't... It's not...
Yeah.
And it's like, once it's released, it's the fans. It's like, no, it's not. It's actually mine. And then he ends up ruining it.
Because some artists do have a strange relationship to their own work. It's like...
you can't blame them either.
No,
if I made something and release it to the world and they're like, let's do this, let's do that. I don't like this, I don't like that. And I'm like, hang on, this is my thing.
The notion of the death of the author and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, it's like if you were to write a fantasy book that you think is fantastic, and then someone will say, no, it sucks. You'd be like, cool story, bro. It's your opinion.
Yeah.
And like, imagine that for millions and millions of people across the world.
But also, like, if something is really popular, like Star Wars or Harry Potter, and it's like, this belongs to the fans now, and there's only so much ownership I have, that kind of makes sense too. Like, the death of the author thing makes sense, because it's just like, well, at a certain point, there's nothing I can do or say.
Yeah.
And most of the times, those creators... like J.K. Rowling and George Lucas, when they do say something, it's awful.
Just to point out, you probably know, she took herself to another level of bottom.
Yeah.
Where you heard about her latest book is about a woman.
Oh, she's an awful person.
It's the size of like War and Peace.
Yeah,
and it's about a woman who gets attacked online for being a TERF.
Yeah, I should say that when I was comparing George Lucas and J.K. Rowling, I was comparing their retconning,
their reaction,
their retconning of their work.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about personally. J.K. Rowling is an awful person. I know. Personally, George Lucas is a great guy, but J.K. Rowling is just an awful person, and she's ruined.
She didn't ruin Harry Potter. It's bigger than her now. It's her problem.
But she ruined her legacy. Like, all she had to do was shut up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was talking.
All she had to do was to sit quietly and enjoy her billions.
Literally count her money, like her Scrooge McDuck dive into a pile of cash.
That's it.
And just shut up. But instead, she's like, no, Harry Potter, they shoot and then they
hill.
teleport it. Yeah. And also, I hate trans people. And also, they're evil and I'm the savior of the world.
Exactly.
It's shut up. You're an idiot.
What a strange hill to die on, honestly.
But see, people like that, they think they're crusaders for the good.
Yeah.
Like people like Ben Shapiro's or whatever, they think they're white knights. They think they're protecting the world from awful
Jordan Peterson's.
They're just crazy right-wing psychos who should shut up and go die in a hole.
On a more positive note,
well, this show has gone off the rails.
Well, Rick and Morty season 5, is it? No, 6.
Is it 6?
It's season 6 has started. The first episode continues off basically the finale of season 5.
I can't remember the finale.
Is this the one? Is this the one you showed me a clip of?
Possibly.
With the dead?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's an interesting thing.
I'm going to wait till the season finishes, now I'm going to binge it all, because
So
I'm sick of waiting week to week.
But that being said, that is still at least, like, from the beginning to the end, we're coming back to that same point. Rick and Morty's still a good time,
It's still a good show.
As long as
last season there was some really bad episodes, but there were some really good episodes too.
As long as you don't start, yelling at the Maccas asking for Szechuan sauce.
Getting up on the counter and
the
yelling.
Pickle Ricks.
Yeah. It's still a damn good show, and it's still got, an overarching story that they want to tell.
Like, we were kind of going towards it, but I don't think we ever hit that point before when we were talking about Dan Harmon. It's like, one of the problems with Rick and Morty is the fan base. Mm-hmm. It's like, the show itself is pretty good, but the fan base is, like, quite toxic, and the cult of personality around Dan Harmon, it's just like, that's built up.
Look, to be fair though, you need to be really smart to appreciate Rick and Morty. So I've heard.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've read online.
See, people just don't get it.
That's it.
Damn it,
I'm halfway through the last season of Goliath as well. We were talking to you guys during the break.
Yeah.
We've been watching it for a while, and I've got back to it after I finished watching The Boys. I'll go back and finish Goliath now. It's so good. It's like, you need to watch it, James. This is a show made just for you.
We've actually, you've actually brought it up over the years. Yes. Every time you've watched a season, you've always been like first season, you're like, it's really good, you should watch it, James. And then second season, you're like, oh, it's not so good anymore. But, third season gets better. And now you're up to
season 4, 1 is good. Season
good
1 is a really good grounded legal drama. Billy Bob Thornton, obviously, plays the main character.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah, Billy McBride. Season 1's a very good grounded legal drama. I only brought this up because we were talking about before Better Call Saul and legal stuff before. Season 2 is a bit iffy. Season 3 goes nuts. It's like
in a good way, though.
In a good way. Season 3 is almost like they've been watching too much Twin Peaks.
Yeah, that's what you said. And I was like, hang on, isn't this a legal drama?
Well, yeah, and no.
Not anymore.
Season 3 is very much, it's like centered in an area of California that's affected by drought. And there's an Indian reservation casino, and there's all kinds of like intrigue and like funny peace pipes that make Mr. McBride have visions, and it gets all very Twin Peaks with like cryptic clues in these visions that are in like 4:3 and like real cool, kind of like David Lynch approved.
You showed me a musical sequence.
Yeah, and it opens with a musical sequence.
Yeah, I was like,
it's really weird Twin Peaksy stuff.
Yeah.
Season 4 is a little more grounded, but there's still that kind of weirdness to it, but it's more noir, like hard boiled kind of stuff. I think you'd really enjoy it.
The problem,
I'll keep harassing you until you watch
I'm
it.
sure we've talked about this many.
Have you seen where there's a judge driving a car and he's got his gavel? He hits it. He's like, "I sentenced you to kiss my ass."
It wouldn't surprise me at some point.
Mr. Prime Minister. That's what was I going to say? Oh, I'm sure we've talked about it many times. There's too much to watch.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming now. And I'm kind of at a point where I'm like just watching whatever I want when I want to watch it. And I don't really care about anything or anyone
It's
anymore.
the only way to do it.
Because I kept trying to keep up with shows, and I'm like, it feels like homework. I'm watching this show because other people are watching this show.
Especially when the world outside is so stressful.
Yeah, and I got enough problems having to worry about what show I'm watching. So, like now I'm just kind of like, like I stopped watching shows for a while, and I was like playing games, and I'm like. And now I'm like gonna start watching something else, and I'm like, because I watch a lot of stuff that we don't talk about on the show, because I'm like stuff I enjoy, but it's like you guys probably not interested or don't watch it, and so like, what's even the point of bringing it up? But that's what I enjoy doing. It's like if I'm watching stuff just to talk about on the show or to talk about with you guys, then I'm not enjoying it. It feels like homework.
Yeah, of course. Maybe you'll harass you instead, Alan. Watch it.
I'll try.
I'm not saying I'll watch it eventually, but I'm just saying it's like there's so much to watch that it's like it's too overwhelming.
I have to suffer my way through Siddhartha by Herman Hesse before I can move on to Fairy Tale by Stephen King, and that's a bitter pill.
But see, like that's the thing.
I say that like Siddhartha's not a good novel.
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it,
no, I am enjoying it, but it's just the Fairy Tale hardback cover over there is sitting there, actually, and it's whispering to me.
That's another problem I have is sometimes I'll be watching a show and I'll be like, oh, this show's great, I love it, and then another show will come out and I'll be like, oh, I want to watch that show, but I don't want to stop this.
That's it. God help whatever I'm watching when Severance Season 2 comes out.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
Or the next season of Succession.
Yeah, Succession. Oh, my God. Oh, can I mention The Bear?
Yes.
Have you watched it yet?
Not yet.
Oh, so I've seen it twice already. Like, speaking of not having time to watch shows, it aired in the States like 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, we just got it recently.
Yeah, and I watched it through my means. I flew to the US and I watched it there and came back. It's cheaper than just pay HBO Max or whatever. But
it just straight up didn't air here until
exactly, which is a problem we've talked about before, where it's like, why are they waiting? It's the internet age. But I watched it. I'm like, it's a great show. Everyone should watch it. Finally, now it's come out in Australia on Disney Plus. So you have no reason not to watch it if you don't have Disney Plus and you're in Australia. It's a great show. I highly recommend it. And like I just said, I don't have time to watch stuff. There's too much stuff. It's overwhelming. I took the time out to rewatch the whole show on Disney Plus properly, like So I've seen it twice already because I'm like, it's such a good show and I want them to make more.
Have you seen The Patient on Disney Plus?
Oh, I forgot about that.
No.
That's awesome.
I've only seen the first couple episodes. I'm waiting for it to finish. It
Sounds familiar.
what's the actor's name?
Stephen Carell.
Steve Carell plays a psychiatrist or therapist or something who's abducted by a serial killer, right? And keeps him in the basement of his house.
I saw the trailer.
And the episode's only like 23 minutes each.
My theory is it's a film.
It's a
movie.
mini-series.
No, my theory is it's a movie that they've cut up to put on Disney Plus. That's my theory.
See, I think they do that with a lot of shows and they don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of shows where I'm like, why isn't this just a movie?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of movies where I'm like, why isn't this just a show? It's like, I feel like...
Well, yeah, because the episode, it's good. I'm waiting for it to finish.
Yeah, they're like 20 minutes each.
But I have a feeling they've cut a movie up into.
But they're
like
really
small
tight
episodes.
though. The episode's really tight, so it's possible it was a TV show that they just like the editing must be god level.
I'll add it to my infinitely long list.
But I was saying, that's something you can probably binge in a night.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's the good thing about The Bear is like they're half-an-hour episodes and there's like, I think there's 8 or 10, so like you can...
But with this, it'll be like 6 to 8 episodes. They're 20 minutes each. You can get through it in enough time.
Yeah. That's
a good show. I watched the first 2. They released with 2. I obviously wasn't aware they're only like 20 minutes. I'm like, well, look, I might as well just wait and then watch it as a movie.
Yeah.
Which I think I'll get more out of if I watch it in one sitting.
I'm adding it to my list.
But I think Disney Plus has got a few good things coming. Have you seen any of Wrexham FC?
No, that doesn't interest me.
Doesn't interest you?
No.
It's not bad. It's Ryan Reynolds and
Rob McHenry.
Yes.
I don't know.
McKellany. Rob McKellany.
Mac from
Philly. Yeah. They buy the Real Story documentary series. They buy a Welsh football club.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's pretty funny, but it is, it is what it is. It's an underdog story.
It's funny, right? Because this goes back like at least a year, and probably more, 2 years maybe. I discovered that I actually have an unconscious soft spot for sports documentaries. When I watched The Last Dance, and I remember.
Oh, but that's just such a good story.
I remember. Did you watch it? Because I remember yelling at you. I'm like, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
We were all talking about it. You're like, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
I told my dad to watch it, and he's like, I don't care about basketball. I'm like, it's not about the basketball.
Yeah, it's just an incredible story.
Yeah. Exactly, it's about the dramas that I didn't even know existed. I told my dad, it's like a Hollywood film, except it all really happened. And like again, as somebody who. I like modern basketball, but like as a kid, I wasn't particularly invested in American basketball back in the 90s and early 2000s. But like to see all the drama unfold, like I was just like, oh my god, this is crazy. The personalities, like it's all like Hollywood. It's like actual characters from a script interacting with each other.
People like because I was never really into any sports and not basketball, but like I remember the 90s, like those guys, like Michael Jordan and all those guys, like they were huge.
They were larger than life.
Mega stars. People don't understand. Like we talk about LeBron now, and it's just like he's nowhere near the level of like the Chicago Bulls guys. Like those guys in the 90s.
Jordan, he was the first guy to really kick off a shoe line.
Yeah, that's why. Like when they made the new Space Jam, I got so mad because I'm like, no, you can't.
Not the same.
It doesn't make sense now. Back then. It was like Bugs Bunny. It was like on the poster. It was like Bugs Bunny, Michael Jordan. It was like, and they crashed together. And I was like, yeah. It's like, this is huge. Now it's like, who cares? LeBron James, Bugs Bunny. What? That doesn't make sense.
We don't have anyone like that in sports now.
No.
It's just that.
Yeah.
He was like the Muhammad Ali of basketball.
Yeah.
And there's no one
now
like that
we
anymore.
have sports stars who are big names, but no one's like a mega star like those guys were. I remember going to Kmart and there were like Chicago Bulls like action figures. There was like a Charles Barkley Phoenix Suns action figure. It's like you can still get those, but they're collector's items. They're not. You don't get them on your normal shelf.
Right. Yeah,
like it's a different landscape.
Places,
We'll be right back after this. Okay, where were we?
Yeah, well, I was just going to wrap up by saying I think that sports documentaries are so fascinating because deep down, most men and women at one time in their lives, they've always fantasized about being a sports star of some variety, right? But like,
maybe not sports star, but a star.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is owning a company like that. What happens behind the scenes? That's so fascinating. Like, you know what I mean? Like watching from behind the scenes as your team fails or wins, the business aspect of it, fascinating, just fascinating. So when like this documentary with Ryan Reynolds and Mac from Philly, I can understand the appeal in that. Just
What's
like
it called? Wrexham
FC.
Just like The Last Dance. It's like everyone wants to see what it's like by the other side of the equation.
Well, it's just
It's
a good
also-
underdog story because this is a club that basically needed to be bought. It had no money and it hasn't won. Because you know how the English football works. So you've got
you go
similar
up
to
in
how we have like
ranks,
the Victorian football league
Yeah.
and the AFL and everything else. There's like 3 different leagues. There's like you've got your shit tier, your bad tier, and then your okay tier.
If you lose, you go down. If you win, you go up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Wrexham is like 100 years ago they were top shit and now they're nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, so they bought this club who really is at the complete bottom of the barrel. And it's that underdog story of like, okay, we've got these new owners.
Trying to build
these
it
rich
back
owners,
up, yeah.
Let's build a good team.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
It's-
like a very underdog, feel
It's
good
the
kind
documentary
of,
real life version of Ted Lasso.
Yeah, essentially, yes,
Which
it
is
is.
also... have we talked about Ted Lasso?
I still haven't seen it.
Oh, it's so good. You have to watch it.
I
it's
know.
one of the-
They're putting him in a video game. Did you know that?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
stand. Yeah, I saw that. They in such an awful world we live in. Ted Lasso is like the perfect wholesome.
Would
like,
you believe me if I
Band-Aid.
told you there were still people who have problems with it? No, I don't mean problems with the filmmaking. I mean there was some chick on Twitter months ago who was like something about like white privilege and Ted Lasso, and I was like, leave it. It's a wholesome show. People enjoy it.
Yeah, no,
Just,
it's such
let them have it. You don't
Yeah.
have to bring it down.
It's such a good show. Like I love it.
Again, while Apple is still hot
Yeah,
right now.
Apple's riding high at the moment. In a couple of years, we'll be talking about how bad they are. But at the
I
moment,
wait till the tax write-offs happen.
yeah. Actually,
Well, that's another thing. To Apple, really, to Apple as a company, Apple TV is a side project. They probably
Yeah.
give some dude in upper management.
Actually, that's
right?
true.
It's a rounding error.
No, that's true.
Well, originally when they announced it, it's like,
good,
this is garbage. They're not even taking this seriously.
Yeah, and then obviously they
And
appointed the
then
right
someone-
guy
yeah,
in charge.
someone did the right thing because they're like, oh no, this is actually going to be a
Because
premium.
Apple TV doesn't
service.
they don't have like heaps of movies and stuff like that, do they? It's
At
like
the moment,
They
it's
do.
quality over
I mean, not
quantity.
heaps.
No,
They-
it's like
they
a,
have-
it's like a curated kind of thing.
Oh,
in a
their
way.
originals is
Yeah.
They're at the moment it's not a
Yeah.
Netflix style throw
Yeah.
everything at
which
the
is
wall.
which is what we want. We don't
Yeah.
want that. We
Yeah.
want what we've got.
Hmm.
But I think Apple will last a bit longer because it's a rounding error in Apple
I
as
think
a company.
I think give it a couple
Like,
of
it's like,
years.
like Prime. Has Prime done anything terrible to their content?
It's a Prime Originals.
They've cancelled a few things, but not in the Netflix style of like
Yeah.
blanket cancelling.
Again, it's those things of you don't want your streaming service being the only thing in town. Like that's Apple's thing. Like again, it's a rounding error, really. Like their phones make a lot. Apple's the amount of money they make off digital sales and all that kind of
Well, that's
stuff.
what we talked about.
completely dwarfs anything they make
That's
off.
what we talked about with Amazon. Was like you pay for Amazon Prime to get packages,
Yeah.
but you get the service as a
Yeah.
side thing.
It's the same thing. Amazon's video content. I mean, obviously, Lord of the Rings costs $100 billion or whatever it costs. Whatever.
Yeah.
But that's Bezos' passion project, all right? That's a different
That's
issue.
also true,
But
yeah.
again, a lot of these Amazon TV Prime shows, it's probably a rounding error in Amazon's overall budget. That's the problem you have
they're
with
like the biggest company. They can
Yeah.
spend that money on.
That's the whole deal.
few
Like, you've got
shows.
Netflix gutting itself because it's like that is the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at least that's why Amazon and Apple, in my opinion, are still kind of okay because they're left alone. That's not the whole pie.
Yeah, they make their money
If
with
they
their
make a loss
products
on a
and
TV
stuff,
show-
and then they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they make a loss on a TV show, it's we tried.
Apple's just like, we
Yeah.
made a loss. I didn't check the
I
books
mean,
for the last
look,
6
yeah.
it
years.
could,
I
it
don't
could
know.
all change in a heartbeat.
It
Oh yeah.
could, yeah.
Like I said, in a couple of years we'll be talking about this, saying how awful Apple is
Yeah.
and how the streaming wars have escalated to actual shootouts in the streets.
It'll get there. Content creators like with the last remaining USB stick that has their files.
Yeah.
HBO's like, hand it over.
Yeah.
We need that tax credit.
Hey, we talked about this once, where we're living in cyberpunk dystopian future. It's just not cool. Like people aren't wearing sunglasses at night and stuff. Like otherwise, we are already living in that horrible. Speaking of Cyberpunk Edge Runners, the animated series is pretty good.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
I've
liked
seen
it.
some funny YouTube videos of people actually finding these locations in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they took
Yeah.
the game and they like put it in the
No,
show.
like people have been
it's,
finding apartments and locations in the anime
Yeah.
that actually
Yeah.
exist in the game.
I
Well, that's
wonder
cool.
if they, it's 2D animated, so it's not like crappy Netflix 3D
Yeah,
anime,
yeah.
But yeah, it looks like they took locations from the game and
it's really interesting.
them.
Like it breathed life into the actual game. They're currently it's like the number one most played game on Steam.
We talked about how it's like we were hyping it up so much. I didn't even end up playing it because
I enjoyed it.
I know you guys enjoyed it, but I was like
we also played it on the Series X.
Yeah. But they what do you call it? We talked about how they built it up and they couldn't deliver. They overpromised and they underdelivered. And they got rid of a lot of good faith that I had in them. And now this show has like blown all that out of the water. Like now it's the biggest game ever, and everyone's coming back.
See, it's such a complicated subject to talk about Cyberpunk because their big mistake. I mean, we talked about it like a lot in the past, but their big mistake was releasing on hardware that just couldn't support the game. That aside. The problem is, like, I mean, I think we did a review. It could have been on.
I think it
could have been on Alm's show. We talked about it there, maybe on the old Sunrise
I think we
Arcade
talked about
show.
it on one of the Saturday episodes.
When you and it goes for not just Cyberpunk, but like all media, right? When you promise the world and you don't, so people get this idea in their heads about what Cyberpunk is to them. So it's like you can give. It's like the Fallout 76 thing where they'll say, "Here's what the game is." To defend people who hated on Cyberpunk when it launched, it did not ship with all of the features that were originally promised. But the issue that happened with Cyberpunk's launch, and even for people who played it in an ideal situation like Nathan and myself, and this I'm excluding myself from this because I thought the game was fantastic on launch, was that you carry with you an idea of what Cyberpunk is to you based on the art you see online.
No, there's definitely. I agree with you to a certain extent. There's definitely a large part of the audience who has in their mind what a game should be, what a sci-fi game should be, what an action game should be, and it'll never live up. It's like those idiots who saw the GTA 6 leak and got angry that it was unfinished. It was an unfinished game, and they're like, it looks unfinished. Those, the hashtag gamer that give gamers bad name, those people exist. However, in this case with Cyberpunk, I definitely feel like they advertised things that they couldn't and wouldn't and didn't put in the game, and that's a large part of it. Like it's just like they said, "Oh, you can go here and you can do this," and then it came out. It's like, no, you can't. They lied.
That's also true.
They didn't have a railway system. That was one of the things that were promised that wasn't included. And the code was in there too.
It's not just Cyberpunk. A lot of games do this, especially now where it's become a business model where they sell an unfinished game.
So a long time ago, we had a discussion about Fallout 76. And the reason I bring this up is because in both of these instances, people need to understand that just because some guy who works for a company tells you a bunch of shit, it's a video game. Well, so in the case of Cyberpunk 76, I guess, I don't want to say I'm a realist or whatever, but they can tell me it's going to be a virtual reality experience which will literally jack me into the internet. But,
that's not going to...
I expected a open world Deus Ex game. That's what I got. I never expected...
Fallout game.
Deus Ex. I'm talking about...
Fallout 76.
Cyberpunk.
Oh, okay. We were talking about Fallout
76. Just to address what James said. So it's like... Again, though, this sounds super cynical. I'm not necessarily going to believe what the advanced, like what the PR people come out and tell me, right? You got to wait for the first trailers, whatever. The issue with Cyberpunk is that people were left to stew on what these promises were for like 10 plus years.
That's the other thing. So it was built up over years.
So normally,
and they kept over-promising.
Normally,
things.
with a development cycle, you might have 3 years just to think about it and let it ruminate in your head. Yeah. 3 years is a long time, but during the course of that 3 years, the information about the game is going to change. It's going to reflect the final result.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk didn't really let that... it was hidden from view for 10 years. So no one knew what the real shape of the game was looking like until it came out. And then people were like, this isn't what we were told.
That's also true. People couldn't keep their expectations in check because the company didn't...
They didn't reveal much. Yeah.
Yeah, there were just years and years where there was no
radio
updates.
silence.
Yeah.
So that's another part of the issue is that the company failed to keep people their expectations in check.
And in your mind, you think, well, they're working on this for a decade. It's got to be the greatest game ever.
That's right.
That's actually interesting point here. Starfield. We're going to have the same exact thing when Starfield comes out, hopefully early next year.
But
who knows?
Who knows?
I would also expect more information about Starfield to come out closer to release.
They reckon we're going to get more information next month. There's going to be a new trailer.
Because I think a lot of companies would have learned from Cyberpunk's
but they've
failure.
been working on it for so long that in your mind you're like, this has got to be the greatest game ever made, and it'll come out and it'll just be like any other game.
They haven't been working on it for that long. What they have been, so the principal development hasn't been going for that long. They've been working on, like, they did the Skyrim Anniversary Edition. They've had Starfield in, like, early pre-production for a long time. But, like, actual development cycle where you have, like, a whole bunch of guys working on it all the time. Like, that hasn't been going into, like, that's only been, like, a couple of years.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'll have a look.
Because I read that, like, a lot of Bethesda's, like, the Fallout / Elder Scrolls people, they did the Skyrim special anniversary special edition. They've been Fallout 76 stuff going down. They've had
active development of the game had been ongoing since late 2015.
Early 2016.
Well, late 2015. That's what Wikipedia says. Anyway,
6-7 years.
Yeah, but anyway, that's active development since late 2015.
Yeah,
so that's still 7 years. I think a lot of people are going to be let down by it.
Definitely.
I'm going to look. I'll be happy with it because I know.
You know what? It's again like to dumb things down for my personal expectations. It's Elder Scrolls in space.
Yeah, that's...
If you expect anything more than that, you're going to be disappointed.
I've seen arguments on the internet already about people being like, what do you mean I can't fly from space onto the planet?
Exactly.
It's like, no, mate, you need a load screen. You know what I mean? There needs to be...
Yeah, but I think as long as the company isn't deliberately...
It's what is
misleading people.
What is it? Lying by omission, or is it silence?
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of it too. But also, like, there is a growing movement, or at least there should be. I don't think it's been that successful of like not pre-ordering a game. It's like wait for the game to actually come out before you play it, because like this keeps happening.
Well, I mean, it's coming to Games Pass. I'm just not going to buy it.
Exactly, and then that's one of the benefits. But like this keeps happening. These big companies keep releasing unfinished, broken games. Keep releasing games that you have to buy $150 worth of extra content to actually play it. And it's just like, no, this is not cool. Like, don't.
Yeah, that's funny. We started from Elder Scrolls Oblivion Horse Armor, and now look where we are.
Yeah,
that was like one of the first in-game DLCs was armor for your horse in Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Micro.
And now look where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a... We talked about it on one of the Saturday episodes. It's like such an ugly...
Yeah. But anyway, on to better, more positive reviews, I guess. I've finished 2 games lately. Isn't that exciting? I can barely finish one most of the time. It was Elder Scrolls Origins, which is an old game, of course.
Assassin's Creed Origins.
I'm sorry, yeah. Freudian slip there. Assassin's Creed Origins, which has been remastered is the wrong word, updated for Xbox Games Pass for its additional to Games Pass.
It has a Series X patch.
Yeah, so it's
that's cool.
60 frames a second and all that kind of fancy stuff that goes along with it. So it plays super smooth. But I got burned out on it for a while because I explored the entirety of the world.
We've talked about this before. Open world games are just too big.
Yeah, it's too daunting.
I need a bit of focus. It's too much.
But once I got to the quests, what an adventure. So good. Egyptian adventures in the desert, and you got all the exploration stuff. It's just so great. I miss desert adventures, They just added The Mummy to Netflix in 4K. Awesome.
The original Mummy.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The
Brendan Fraser one?
Yeah.
Because I know you guys have a thing for Tom Cruise, and I want to have
I
that
will maintain that the original Mummy movie is probably one of the best adventure movies ever made.
The Brendan Fraser one?
Yeah.
Damn straight it is.
They don't make movies like that anymore,
it's great.
But
No, I was just you go on. Otherwise, I'll go on a tangent.
Yeah, the other game.
Which actually, that's what I should do because this is what
that's
it. Do you want me to? No, I'll let you finish.
Wait, we got to talk about Brendan Fraser. Don't worry.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Hype for the whale.
Yeah, we'll get there. The other game I played was a game called As Dusk Falls, which was. Do you remember? So there was an Xbox. I can't remember what they call a showcase. I think they call them, right? The Xbox State of Plays.
Just Xbox.
Because they didn't do E3 last year, and one of the things that they did on their Xbox live stream, where they announced a bunch of games, was this game called As Dusk Falls. And like some of our friends from Sunrise Arcade, they weren't particularly sold on a lot of the stuff. Like they're more Nintendo guys; they'll never admit it. But like Xbox, they're not really down for Xbox as such. But one of the games that I thought looked incredible, well, there were two. One called Pentiment, which is by Obsidian, which is allegedly coming out this year, but prove it.
Yeah.
And then the other one was As Dusk Falls, which was, I don't know if it was made by an Xbox company, but either way, it's this game. It's like a, I don't want to call it a Telltale game, but it's like, have you played the Dark Anthologies game where...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I haven't played it.
It's like, so for viewers, listeners...
It's like a movie you interact with at points to drive the
so
story
like you
forward.
can choose dialogue options or you choose like a path to go. Like a choose your own adventure book, but in game form.
Yeah.
And usually these games are horror games and it's, cheap thrill. You can play with your friends. And this game is like that as well, where you can invite your friends to help make decisions for you. But I just did it on my own.
Yeah.
But it's set in America, I think in Utah or Ohio, one of the two. But it's essentially just a thriller about a family who's held at gunpoint in a motel. And the family are hiding from the police after looting the sheriff's house. But what an incredible adventure. It's like thriller, on the edge of my seat the entire time. The aesthetics, I've never seen anything like it before. It's a mixture of comic book art and 3D animation.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. It looks really interesting. It's like rotoscoped almost.
Yeah, it's a bit jarring at first, but then once you get used to the art style, it works super well. So like you have like the characters kind of, they're not like the 2D animation isn't jointed, so there's no like arms moving, so they're kind of stiff. But like then
it's like a motion comic almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's super, like I said, it's super effective once you get used to it.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that like all these games, you can see the big trees of decisions, so you can see how you tracked along with other players. But there's so much to discover, and I'm not that guy, Like I'm doing one playthrough, get the good ending, and I'm done.
Yeah.
But it went for way longer than I expected. So it starts off with the theft, then you go through to the motel, and then the consequences after. And there might be a sequel. It
and
ends,
because every choice you make affects the game, it's like there can be multiple different stories.
But the way it ends on a huge cliffhanger.
Oh.
Not a huge cliffhanger.
No, I don't like that.
No. But it ends in a way that I'm like, I want more. So I should say the key story ends.
Yeah.
But then there's one of the characters' backstories encroaches in on the game, and you're like, wow, I need to know about that. So I'm hoping they make a sequel. But I found it to be a very... it had a lot of pathos in it. It had lots of genuine perspectives. Yeah, it's just a fascinating game. People should go play it because it's on Games Pass. What's the meme? Best deal in gaming, whatever it is. But honestly, though, like I want to read the comic book version of this. I want to see the movie version.
Yeah.
Such an interesting
There's
world.
so many interesting kind of indie games and weird games that, that's like kind of with movies where I'm like, I don't even like the mainstream movies anymore. I just like the weird indie movies. Well, it's the same with games. I don't even play AAA games anymore. I just play indie games.
One interesting game you might enjoy, a Victorian game got made here in Victoria. The government funded the game's development.
Yeah.
Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, that's
I've
awesome.
heard about that. People are going nuts for that.
I bought that game. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
It was
like a whole...
It's like $30 or something.
Yeah, it's like... did you ever play The Binding of Isaac?
No, but yeah, I know what you mean.
It's the same combat style as Binding of Isaac, where you get random weapons. You get one random weapon and one random spell, I believe.
Yeah.
When you enter like the dungeon, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And then it's just random map layouts. So every time you go in, it's a different layout.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is you're building up your cult of followers.
It's all animals.
Little lambs or frogs.
Yeah.
So you're like a lamb, but then there's or your cultist might be an elephant and whatever.
Yeah.
But then when you die, you keep all the resources you got from the dungeon, and you can use it to build up your town. It's not like your cult area.
Yeah.
And then you can progress. So even if you die, you're still progressing your game.
That's good.
There's a lot of good indie games.
Yeah.
And again, as you said, they're almost more interesting than the AAA games.
AAA games are so boring now. It's always FIFA or Call of Duty, and they're just reskinned, and it's the same stuff.
Yeah.
Or like we said, it's a big game that doesn't live up to its promise, or is released broken and full of microtransactions.
As dumb as this is going to sound, at some point there's going to be ethical concerns about AAA games as well.
We had a whole Saturday
episode
where we talked about all the ethical concerns, the crunch, the gambling, all that stuff.
Kids are coming out. 5-year-old kids are little gambling addicts now.
We already talked about it. Like, it's a big problem. And the industry is like completely...
I know we had footy cards back in the day and all the Tarzos and everything else. We're old. but it's not
harmless.
as... Yeah, but in comparison to what's today, they're
You reminded
harmless.
me of something. Do you guys remember Oddbods?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about Oddbods in 20-something
That
years.
core memory.
Yeah, and someone on Reddit was like, "Do you guys remember Oddbods?" And I was like, and it was like flooding
Yeah.
back.
Do you remember the skateboard ones too?
Yeah. Oh, Tech Decks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But
Remember
you know,
Knuckle, what are they called? Knucklebones?
Yeah, Knucklebones, I remember Knucklebones.
Oh,
Like,
man.
yeah, we had all that,
Yeah.
right? But it's so much more visceral now for the kids.
Yeah, those are also physical
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
physically had one. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so much more...
Now it's just bullshit. Yeah.
It's basically just gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, what was that game? It was was it Assassin's Creed? One of the new games they released. It said real gambling.
They took
as
that
part of
down.
the
That was a
rating.
mistake. Yeah.
No, it was, I don't think it was. I think-
Real gambling.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The new Assassin's Creed game. There's 3 new Assassin's Creed games actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
But we know nothing. I reckon
But
they only got announced because they got leaked.
Yeah, but the interesting one is Assassin's Creed Mirage. Have you heard about that one?
I heard of all of them, but I don't remember what they're called or what they're
So
about.
Mirage is set in the Middle East.
Oh, one of them Samurai. I know that.
Yeah, that's codename Red or whatever.
Mm.
But Mirage is set in the Middle East. It's not open world. They want to return to making 20 to 30 hour games, which tell a linear story with the power of modern consoles.
Can I get an amen?
I would be interested.
So
in
instead of the like I remember I told you when I finished Origins, it took me 175 hours or something.
Yeah.
Well, they want to make a game which can be completed in 30.
Well, yeah,
because it tells a coherent, structured tale.
Up until Origins, it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
It was like the games were
But they were all pretty
open. Yeah.
to an extent.
The last
not,
couple were...
not to the same extent
Not
as
as
Origins.
yeah.
Black
Yeah.
Flag was a little big, but it was mostly water, so that's okay, right? You're just sailing from A to B.
But it's interesting because a while ago we talked about open world games and how but people don't have enough time to play them. Not play them, but get
Yeah.
them.
There's a lot of padding in these open world games where it's
Yeah.
just like
That's why,
let's just throw in a lot of random shit for people to do.
Side
because
quests that are all exactly the same.
Yeah,
Collectibles
yeah.
that are all exactly
it's
the
they're
same.
they're worried people aren't going to be playing their games for long enough. Or in Assassin's Creed, I'm not being negative here, but there's a lot of we want people to be playing long enough to want to buy the DLCs.
Yeah.
Keep them
Yeah.
in that
That's why
ecosystem.
I never got into those games because I'm like.
But
not
it's like
interested.
right up to Origins, that wasn't really a problem because it was a more focused story.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm happy for them to return to a more standard,
I would be interested in that.
straightforward kind of.
I think it's
story
because they sell. Like you look at the God of War on PS4, PS5, and all that. It's like they're relatively structured. The world is open in a fake way. You can only go in the direction which you're supposed to go in, with a few side routes to get extra treasure or what have you. But it's like it allows people to pick it up and play it because you know where you're going straight away.
But who was it like a few years ago, maybe less than a few years ago? I mean, it's happened more than once, but there was a specific situation where one of the big video game company executives was like, people don't play people don't play story-driven games anymore. And someone just put a screenshot of like God of War and Spider-Man PS4 and The Last of Us and all these story-driven games that are the biggest selling games over the last...
And everyone ignores Nintendo.
Yeah?
Like, Splatoon's multiplayer game, that's big, but most of the Mario games are single-player experiences. All of the Zelda games.
But
and
Nintendo's
they always sell millions and millions
this
of
is one of those
copies.
things. This is one of those things I argue about with Jake. Not argue, we discuss it. But I'm like, Nintendo it's a different conversation because a lot of Nintendo's games are all the same. So it's like you take different coats of paint, sure, different perspectives, different colors, whatever. But it's like most of the Mario games, not all of them, but most of them are all just platformers. There's no... I was talking to Jake, who from Sunrise Arcade, friend of our show, about why can't we have a Telltale game set in the Mario universe?
Like, it was the Paper Mario. That's like an RPG.
Yeah. But I'm like, why can't we have more interesting Mario spin-offs than spin-off soccer, for example, Mario Soccer or whatever?
Look, right now, Nintendo's a little bit limited by hardware.
Yeah,
but that's almost their own. That's
by
their own.
Come on, we're
choice.
6 years into the Switch's lifespan now.
But again, why do they need to reinvent the wheel?
I'm sure we've talked about this.
People are happy with their games.
I'm sure we've talked about this off air, but Nintendo just as a company has rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, me too.
And as much as I love a lot of their games, I don't even buy stuff for my Switch anymore. Me either. My Switch just gathers dust.
Same. I'm not actually hating on Nintendo. I'm just saying that like they played their own game.
Yeah,
they're not interested in competing with Sony or Microsoft.
But no, like, I'm not debating any of that. But I'm just saying
their platform.
They are the king. But I'm just saying they're also the king of the single player game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But they don't innovate though.
No. But again, that's a different conversation. That's not what I'm saying.
No. What I'm saying is we're talking about innovation and like single player games and like coming around the game. Like this idea that like open world games might be restraining it again. But Nintendo never really. Breath of the Wild tinkered with that. That's not a normal thing for Nintendo.
True, yeah.
But I mean, even EA is coming around to this tighter single player experience again, a little bit with Jedi Fallen Order, which was a fantastic game, phenomenal game. But they're bringing Mass Effect back to life. They're bringing Dragon Age. Well, they haven't not been bringing Dragon Age back, but.
The longer we go without hearing anything, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah, I know. It's like the Fable meme. It's like, is Fable coming out this year?
Yeah.
Maybe next year, son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I could ramble for hours, but
Brendan Fraser.
I think we talked about it enough.
Brendan Fraser, you're the mummy. Go watch it. It's good.
Yeah, movie. The Whale. The resurgence. He's coming back. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, Doom Patrol's awesome. People should watch that. He's in that. He was in, what was that movie? Steven Soderbergh did a movie like last year or the year before.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Nobody. Nobody Move.
Visiting.
Something.
Yeah.
God damn it! I watched it. It was a good movie.
I watched Batgirl, but it got cancelled for a tax.
Yeah, he was in Batgirl. Damn it. Anyway, yeah, he's awesome. Everyone knows he's awesome, and everyone loves him, and that's why he's like.
He's so. It's interesting to see how genuine he still is, because there was some. I saw a picture. He was at some convention, and a woman had a T-shirt that had like all the different roles he'd been in, and it was like the faces of Brendan Fraser, and he looked so happy.
Oh yeah, he's become a Keanu style meme figure of like, isn't he wholesome and awesome?
Yeah.
And like, here's a video of him crying when he realizes how much the internet loves him and stuff. And it's just like that kind of, he's that kind of lovable actor who's
hopefully he wins an Academy Award.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I felt bad for Bob Odenkirk.
For the Emmys.
Yeah, I felt bad for him, but how can you never give it to Jeremy Strong for Succession? I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
I think one, the Oscars, the Emmys, load of shit.
It's a joke, I know.
They're a load of shit, and they should not make them anymore, and they're garbage. Two, the fact that Better Call Saul didn't win any Emmys or wasn't even nominated is really fucked up, and just proves that the Emmys are stupid and shouldn't exist. But three, I believe, and I'm not 100% certain, is because they split the last season into two parts, the latter half of the season is eligible next year for awards consideration.
I see.
So it's possible that they're going
it could have been a strategic thing to be like, let's not have Better Call Saul nominated for the same season in 2 different years.
It's like, I think Ozark did the same thing. It's like they split the last season.
Okay.
One for production cost and contractual reasons, but also because then they're eligible for 2 award seasons. I think that's what's happening here.
Well, hopefully they sweep it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they should, because that show was awesome.
Yeah.
But Succession deserves all the awards as well.
Severance comes in and gobbles it all up.
Yeah.
Severance.
And that's about all we got.
I reckon that's about all we got. I'm getting tired. And
yeah, I'm tired and hungry, and I could ramble forever, but I don't care anymore.
We'll keep some for next week.
Yeah.
Keep it bottled in. Right, thanks for listening, everyone. Please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page, the Instagram, and the Twitter. You can catch all the other episodes on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, I should say, wherever you listen. Thanks for listening, everybody. We're back next week. Adios, cousins.